Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video, I'm going to take a look at the Keychron M3. This is a multi-mode wireless mouse, which comes in at actually a pretty decent price, around about £50 or $50 US. This is what I would consider to be a hybrid mouse, so caters for both gamers and also productivity uses, due to the fact that it has got multi-mode wireless support. So this will actually support Bluetooth 5.1, also supports 2.4 GHz wireless, and also you can use it as a wired mouse. So depending on which your preference is, maybe wired for gaming, wireless for maybe not such high demanding gaming, and for productivity tasks, maybe connect it to your laptop or a tablet using the Bluetooth mode. The mouse itself comes in relatively lightweight at 79 grams, so not in the ultra lightweight category, but certainly a little bit lighter than a traditional mouse. It also has a semi-ambidextrous design, so for left or right handers, it's going to be absolutely fine. I myself am left-handed and I find this to be absolutely, well, basically perfect, give or take a few things which we'll talk about a little bit later on. The only thing I would have liked to have seen extra is possibly an extra couple of buttons on the other side for the left and right mouse click, although I generally tend to use the ones on the left hand side anyway. I've just got used to it over the years. Maybe you haven't, let me know in the comments section. When it comes to the actual shape of the mouse, so there is actually quite a defined hump in this one. So if you're using a claw grip, you'll find that actually the hump is really supportive, and I actually do like to have a slightly larger or higher hump on the mouse, just to give my palm a little bit of support, even though I am using a kind of hybrid claw grip. Having said that, it's going to be absolutely fine for pretty much most people, although if you've got extremely small hands, or perhaps extremely large hands, then this might not be quite the right shape for you, but they've designed it to fit in with kind of what is known as the kind of average size hands. So for most people, this is going to be absolutely fine. And for me, I've got what I would call average size hands, and yeah, it's very comfortable and fits my needs perfectly. So in today's video, we'll talk about the mouse, go through the unboxing process, show you exactly what you get. We'll look at the software, which you can also use should you wish to. There's various profiles you can actually load onto the mouse. So if you want to travel with it, you can maybe load up the profiles on your desktop PC. It will store it in the mouse, and then when you connect it up to your laptop or another device, it will memorize those settings. So that's pretty handy. So let's start off looking at the packaging and we'll go through some of the key features. So this, as I said, is the Keychron M3 wireless mouse. There's actually a couple of versions of the M3. There's the M3 Mini and there's the M3 kind of Ultra or 4K. So this one has a 1000 Hz polling rate and is using the Pixart PAW 3395 sensor, giving you up to 26,000 DPI, which is, yeah, most people would never use that, but potentially you can do if you want to. The sensor itself is backed up with some pretty cool features, such as motion sync, ripple control, and angle snapping, should you want to use those features. Again, we'll show you that in the software later, which you can toggle on or off. On the side of the box, it goes through some of the key features, such as its ergonomic design, the Type-C receiver, also the fact that it comes included with a really nice UltraFlex power cord USB cable, and as I said, the 1000 Hz polling rate. On the other side of the box, some more key features. So like I said, up to 26,000 DPI, 2.4 GHz and Bluetooth 5.1 wireless connectivity, backwards compatible with Bluetooth 4.0. Also RGB lighting, so we've got up to 16 million colors available from the RGB palette, and it is a relatively lightweight mouse at 79 grams. On the back of the box, it's got some more features, so up to 70 hours of battery life. So if you are using it on the go, then you're not going to be desperate to give it a charge every 5 minutes. Also, you've got that precise optical sensor, which got 20K DPI and also 650 IPS, and also has 50G acceleration. It does say on there that it is a super lightweight. I would probably question that a little bit. Maybe a couple of years ago, yes, 80 grams or 79 grams would be classified as a lightweight mouse. But I think in the world now where we're in, the kind of the lightweight or ultra lightweight mice are somewhere around about the 60 grams mark. So yeah, it's not that far off, but really I think they're kind of overstating it slightly. When it comes to switches in this bad boy, we're looking at the GM 8.0. So that is the 80 million key press switches. These are actually really nice switches. I like them a lot, really nice sensation to them. A little bit clicky for some people, but potentially if you don't like that, well, yeah, that is pretty much what it's like on the gaming mouse market these days anyway. Also, something which it talks about on the box is the multi-connectivity, and actually they've got pretty much every single base you could possibly imagine covered here. So whether you want to connect up via USB-A, USB-C, Bluetooth, or wireless, or even wired, then it's absolutely not a problem at all. And it's got a really great accessories kit, which we'll take a look at next. So in the accessories, as you would expect, there is a user manual. Although for me personally, I think the text is a little bit on the small side, but don't worry, there is a PDF actually on the website which you can download and expand on the screen so you can see it a little bit clearer. This goes through all the usual features, tells you what the buttons do and also how to perform things like factory resets and all that kind of stuff. So we'll start off first of all with the connectivity. So in terms of the cable, so like I said, this is a really nice 1.8 meter power glide cable or power cord, however you want to look at it. So really nice cable, USB Type-C on both ends, so somewhat future-proofing. USB-C is actually on the kind of charging section on the mouse on the front there. You can use any USB-C cable you want to, but it's nice that they got a decent one included. And the other end is also USB-C. So for some people that could be potentially problematic. Most modern laptops are going to have a USB-C port, but potentially if you're on a PC, then you may be slightly struggling for that. But don't worry, they've got you covered. There is a USB Type-A to Type-C adapter, so you can plug that straight in for wired mode for laptops, PCs, whatever you want to do. There's also a USB female to female connector as well for USB Type-C to Type-A. So if you actually want to get this a little bit closer to you, then you certainly can do. And there are actually two receivers, which is slightly unusual. I don't think I've ever seen this before on a wireless mouse. So again, they've pretty much thought of everything, and actually this makes it really suitable for productivity users. So if you're at home, maybe plug in your USB Type-A adapter. That is for the wireless, so 2.4 gigahertz. So you can plug that into your desktop PC. Again, if you want to get it a little bit further away from your PC, you don't want it plugged in at the back, you can plug this into the adapter. Then you can use the USB Type-C cable, route this from your desktop PC, maybe up onto your desk, so the receiver is going to be a little bit closer to your mouse. Also, if you want to leave that set up on your desk and you don't want to be taking the dongle with you wherever you go, because actually one thing I should say as well, there isn't actually anywhere on the mouse to store the dongle as such. Now potentially you could probably plug it into the front there, but yeah, that's potentially going to get it broken off. But don't worry, you can leave this in your device. So you can use your USB Type-C connection, plug that into your laptop or tablet, whatever you want to do, leave that in there, and then you've got your USB Type-A one that you can leave inside your desktop PC. So if you're maybe taking your mouse from home and you're taking it into work, you can take one of the dongles to work and leave one at home. I think that's a really good idea, and I'd like to see more manufacturers do that. And of course, if I haven't stated it enough already, you don't even have to use those if you don't want to, because it also has Bluetooth 5.1 compatibility. So if you've got a device that runs on Bluetooth, such as your mobile phone, a tablet, an Apple Mac, PC, whatever it is, then you can use it in Bluetooth mode as well. So that's pretty much it for the accessories, which actually I do think deserve a little bit of credit for what they've done here, especially being that this is around about £50. I think this is a spectacular value for money. But let's take a look at the mouse itself, because this is obviously the important bit. So like I said, in terms of the shape, it is got a pretty defined hump on there. When it comes to the actual measurements, I'll leave those on the screen for you now. From memory, I think it's about 125 millimeters in length, about 40 millimeters in height at its highest point, and about 68 millimeters wide at its widest point. When it comes to weight, we've already said that, so around about 79 grams. That is including the 600 milliamp hour battery, which can last up to 70 hours, as we already mentioned. If you do want to get longer life out of it, then obviously you can turn off the RGB, which is where actually some of the nice features come into this, which are built in straight away. So when we look at the buttons, you've got your left and your right click, as you'd expect. You've also got a really nice scrolling wheel on there with a indent, which is actually quite smooth as well. And it has got a rubberized grip on there to make scrolling easier. But you've also got an extra button on the top here, which is actually programmable. So as default from the factory, you can press this button and it will cycle through the available RGB effects, as you're probably seeing from some B-roll we filmed a little bit earlier. But if you want to, you can change that to whatever you want in the software. And maybe you can set up, so that's the print screen button, which people tend to use quite a lot. So for productivity users, then that is potentially quite handy, but you can pretty much set it to anything you want. So changing DPI, changing your polling rates, all those kinds of things. The choice is basically down to you. The buttons themselves, actually the left and right mouse buttons, I think are actually really good, because depending on the size of your hand, even if you're someone who grips the mouse and you click from the top, it's actually nice and easy to get to. The buttons are really long. And if you're one who clicks from the front, like some claw grip users will, then again, it's very easy to do. And the switches, I think, sound really, really nice. The middle mouse is yeah, really nice and precise as well, like that a lot. And the DPI button or RGB button is kind of silent. When it comes to the side buttons, so again, they sound very similar. And they stick out a little bit, which is really nice, so it means that you can actually feel them while they're there, but they don't stick out so much so they're kind of angled or pointy and they actually hurt your thumb or your fingers. There's no kind of sharp edges, which I think is done really nicely. Also what they've done, which I think is really nice, is the finish itself is in this kind of nice matte or satin matte finish. It doesn't seem to pick up much grease either, which I'm quite pleased with, because obviously sweaty hands, gaming and whatever, then these can get quite dirty. But I've been using this for a little while now and it basically looks as good as new, except maybe the potential cat hair or two. Also, for those that like to use a bit of grip on the side, so there's a really nice texture section. Now the whole mouse is made out of ABS plastic and the side is exactly the same. It's the same plastic, it's just a different texture on it. So it's got a semi-matte on the top, which is reasonably grippy, but on the sides you've got this really nice design here, which does aid gripping, like I said. So yeah, nice little indents there. So depending on your grip style, for me this is borderline perfect. Now let's take a look at the bottom of the mouse. So we've got the PTFE or Teflon glide pads, which are pre-installed. When you get this out of the box, there will be some protective kind of coating on there, blue protective coating. Make sure you peel it off, otherwise it is absolutely horrible to use. I forgot and I was thinking, this drags a little bit, but actually you take it off and it's very, very smooth indeed. So looking at the bottom, so you've got your buttons there. So on the left hand side, you've got the DPI button. So you can press that to cycle through the 5 preset modes. So you can see if you're in the right mode. So if maybe your gameplay isn't as good as what it should be, you can just validate it by checking you've got your DPI settings right, and you can know whether it's you or whether it's the mouse. In the very center, there is a physical switch to select the various modes. So if we push it to the left hand side, this goes into wireless 2.4 gigahertz mode. In the middle is wired or off, and to the right hand side is into Bluetooth mode. Now you can tell which one you're in, so when you switch it across into the wireless mode, then it'll flash green for the 2.4 gigahertz, and if you switch it to the other side for Bluetooth, it flashes blue, which is the pairing mode. So the button on the right hand side is the reporting rate or your polling rate. Now there are some things to consider with this. If you're using it in Bluetooth mode, you will only get a maximum polling rate of 125 hertz. That is down to the way Bluetooth works. When you're in wireless mode or you're in wired mode for the 2.4 gigahertz or USB cable, then that will go up to 1000 hertz. So you've got selectable 1000 hertz, 500 hertz or 125 hertz. Again, depending which mode you're in, you may be limited on your choices. Something which is a little bit of a shame, I think personally, is the fact that the screws to actually take the mouse apart are actually underneath the PTFE feet. So if you do like to kind of tinker a little bit, maybe if you're into Keychron because you do like the DIY stuff and you like to make your own keyboards and stuff, it would have been nice that they'd allow this a little bit easier access. So if you wanted to swap out the switches, that would have been great. And also maybe to have hot swap switches, that would have been a really great addition, especially if they could do that at this price. Unfortunately, if you do want to take it apart, you will need to remove those feet, and it also will invalidate your warranty if you do take it apart, so do bear that in mind. So I think that is pretty much it for a brief overview of what the mouse is all about. Let's take a look at the software and see what we can do. Okay, so here we are on our Windows device. Now actually this software does work in macOS and also will work on Windows PCs, so both bases are covered there. So this is the main layout of the Keychron M3 software. It shows you the mouse and the software versions. You've got options for settings, so system settings, auto run. On startup, you can turn that on or off, which is actually quite a nice little feature. You don't necessarily always want it running, I guess. And also you can do software updates, and you can choose to have your left click button lock or unlocked. So that is the basic settings there. You've also got profiles down here, so you can choose 5 different profiles and you can import and export them should you wish to. Pretty nice little layout. So the only thing which I think I would have liked to have seen is a percentage meter here for the charging rate. It just shows you the fact it is either charging or not charging, which is not very useful. Although saying that, if the battery is getting low on the mouse, it will actually flash the mouse wheel slowly in a red color, just to let you know what is going on there, and that will give you a few hours to actually get it charged up. Let's go through the main settings. So if we go to the home page, again, it says basically the same sort of stuff. It tells you what the mouse is, your software version, so yeah, not a great deal there. We go into the mouse button section, so that's actually quite interesting. So if you do want to change any of the buttons for what they do, you can do relatively easily. So say for instance this middle key, key 6, we can highlight that and maybe want to set that to be something else. So you can have either a system shortcut or you can have a specific keyboard key. So let's try that. So let's make it so this is the print screen button. So press print screen, obviously print screen is going to happen, so we'll get rid of that. Click on save, And there we go. So if we want to press the middle button now, or the DPI button as it was, press that and it toggles to be your print screen button. So again, that can be quite useful. If you make any mistakes here, don't worry, it's pretty easy to do. Just reset there, click on that, and there we go, resets it back to the factory defaults. So yeah, pretty useful. You can change all your buttons, so key 1, key 2, scroll up, scroll down, key 3, etc, etc. You get the general idea there. Next one is our pointer settings. So we've got our 5 color-coded DPI settings, and you can choose anywhere between 100 DPI up to a whopping 26,000 DPI, which is yeah, pretty mad. I normally use around about 16 to 1800. Normally it defaults to 1600, so 400, 800, 16, 32, and 5000. Again, you can choose whichever you want. So I've just upped mine slightly to 1800 for the blue color. Also, you've got your reporting rates, as we said, from the bottom. So you can choose that specifically. So 125 hertz for battery power. That will make your battery last longer. The higher the frequency, the less battery life you're going to get. So 500 hertz would be somewhere of a middle ground. Still able to do gaming quite easily, but saving a little bit of battery. Or if you want the highest performance, then set it to 1000 hertz. Don't need to press anything on here. Once it's done, it's basically saved. Although if you do change the slider here, then you do need to actually press the confirm button to save the changes for DPI sensitivity. Next one is going to be in macros, so you can go in and set up macros should you wish to, or you can import them or export them. Then you've got your RGB light settings, so you can choose your light effect. So you've got lights off, static, breathing, rainbow, rainbow swirl, snake, and Christmas. So Christmas is basically just a kind of red and green situation going on. You can also change the brightness, again, possibly helping with your battery life, and also the speed of the RGB effect. Quite basic, but does a pretty decent job. If you mess up again, just press on the reset and it'll take you back to the default, which is the rainbow effect. And last of all, we've got the settings. So this is possibly the important bit for some of you gamers out there. So you've got your adjustable lift-off distance, so 1mm or 2mm. So that is how much the laser tracks when the mouse is lifted from the surface. You've also got options for sensor performance. So you've got your ripple control. So if you're having your DPI set over 9000 hertz, then there will be some ripple to it. So ripple control will actually help with that. You've also got angle snapping, and also you have motion sync. Motion sync also will deplete the battery a little bit quicker, but will give you the best performance. Also, you've got your scroll direction set in. This is actually quite a useful thing. Not often do you get this on a mouse software. So if you're using a Macintosh, some of you will probably already know this, that your scroll direction generally is reverse of what Windows is. So if you're used to that and you want to carry on doing that, you can choose it so that you can change them vice versa. Also, you've got an adjustable debounce time for your switches. So for some of you who are gamers, you may want to adjust that slightly. And also you've got your key pairing settings. I'm not entirely sure what those are, but anyway. You've also got your Windows system settings, so your mouse speed, so how fast it reacts. You've also got your pointer accuracy, continuous scrolling, and also your double click speed, so you can change those there should you wish to, rather than just going into the Windows settings. So that's it. Overall, pretty decent stuff, and it also does reside in the taskbar. There's a little K icon there. I wish they would have the USB charging rates on here, so how much percent is in the battery. I think that's a shame, but hopefully that can be added at a later date. So there you go, there is a look at the software and what it can do for you, and obviously make modifications. I think it's really nice that Keychron are one of those companies which don't focus solely on Windows, but they also focus on Mac users as well. So having a lot of features which kind of go across the two, I think it's a really nice touch. And talking of touch, I think this mouse is a very nice item to have on your desk. It's very smooth, very precise, very accurate. I really like it a lot, and the fact that you can just change the RGB quite easily by pressing the button on the top. So if you're maybe in a working environment and you don't want your colleagues blasted by RGB, you can turn off the RGB and battery will last significantly longer, which is very useful. And actually, talking about battery, if you don't move the mouse for around about a minute, I did time this earlier, it's about 1 minute and 5 seconds, then the RGB lighting will turn off if it's on. The mouse also has its own power down feature, so if you don't use it for around about 15 minutes, it will completely power down and will need a left or right click to wake the mouse back up, not movement based. So that's actually quite useful if you're leaving it on your desk, maybe overnight or something, you just don't want to have to faff around turning the switch off underneath. You can just leave it on your desk and it will automatically power down, ready for you the next day when you wake up and get to work or start gaming. So yeah, overall, I think this is really nice. The RGB effect, I think, is yeah, really nice. Somewhat muted, I think, which is going to be a little bit more tasteful. And the fact that rather than having kind of RGB here, where realistically you're unlikely to see it, I think the fact they've put it where it is, so it kind of tailors where your hand, or contours where your hand is going to be, so you can actually see your RGB lighting whilst you're using the mouse. I think that's a nice touch. And of course, like I said, the battery, if the battery starts going flat, then the middle wheel will start flashing red to let you know that it needs charging up at some point. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really nice mouse. I'll put some links in the video description so you can check it out for yourselves. Again, around about £50 here in the UK at the time of making the video, and also around about $50. So for those in the US, you're actually getting a really good deal. Potentially there may be a discount code as well. If I can get a discount code from our friends at Keychron, I'll put that in the video description as well, so you can check it out for yourselves. Links potentially may be affiliated as well, so if you want to use those, it really helps out the channel to allow us to make these future videos and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, feel free to check out the links and any other specs that I may have left out of the video, although I think I've covered it pretty well. But again, let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. But I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.